Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with me, Nigel Seeley, and Sean Calvert, our senior ATP handicapper, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. You may have joined us last week. Sean wasn't very well. How are you feeling today, Sean?
Uh, all right, I think well enough to do the show. Let's say that the 100 days cough thing. I'm not sure that's right. The cough's kind of eased off a bit, but instead of coughing, I was just sneezing all day yesterday and today, so it feels more coldy today. I don't know what's going on here. Whether I've just got the same virus that's mutating and kind of causing different symptoms, or whether I'm just getting one after the other after another. I don't know what's going on, but I'm a bit better. I'm probably about more like 70% fit now. That's not bad. That's about as good as I've been since, well, the start of the year, really.
That is very good. I'll tell you what, I don't know what you've done through the sort of the internet world, but I've just had a coughing
Nothing.
fit before I come on here, and I've got a runny nose in the last 30 seconds just by talking
See?
to you. I
It's
was just
all
absolutely coughing, splurting away, literally for about 10 minutes before I
you've
joined this Zoom call.
you've done well to escape if you've not had anything so far this year. Everyone I know's had all sorts of stuff. It's horrible. This year's been so bad.
I
I used
locked
to go
myself
away in
in.
the old days. I used to go before Lagan was born. I used to go away in the winter, go Goa or somewhere like that to avoid all this nonsense. There's none of that. None of that now. I'm just exposed to all every virus is going, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's what is called fatherhood. You know, all the joys of being a father, and
Well, they don't
there
tell
is a
you any of
lot
this
of,
stuff, do they?
but it means you're going to be having the lurgy 6 times a year from all the kids at school.
I was all right last year and sort of the year before. Once he stopped going to nursery, nursery was the worst. I'd be just wiped out with nursery. Everything would be going on there. But since last few years since he's been at school, it's been all right. But this winter's been just so bad. I'm normally all right. I'm not normally any. It's normally Natasha that's constantly got every single illness going, and I'm normally all right. I'm sort of looking at her going, what's going on? And I'm normally all right, but now it's payback time, I think.
It is playback time. But anyway, a 70% Sean Calvert today is a good thing for us. How fit and well were you on Sunday?
Probably about Sunday. I can't remember. Oh, that was a coffee. No,
60%,
about 40. Probably about 40.
40%. Well, a 40% fit Sean Calvert give us a sweep. A couple of official picks cashed,
Yeah, did all
leans
right, didn't we?
cash. We don't mind. A 40% Calvert is good for us.
Yeah, picking matches and looking at the stats, my health doesn't really affect that. It's kind of talking and having to talk for a long period of time. My voice sort of goes. That's the problem. But looking at the stats and that, I think it's been some good matchups so far
Yeah,
this week, and
but
we've had some good wins.
you could have had the sort of you could have sort of thought I'm not going to talk about that match. You could have condensed it to two bets, but you soldiered on and
No,
went
I
through
don't
the
do
four
that.
matches.
Give value for money. I always give value for money on this show. I'll try
Exactly.
to anyway.
And that's what we're on about. We're looking for value for money. And we're looking for value for money today. There's three tournaments this week, as you probably are aware. One in Rio, one in Los Cabos in Mexico, and one over in Qatar in Doha. The action is playing at the moment. I'm watching Andy Murray, who's 5-1 up. Not
Yeah,
good for me.
he's on nice.
I've bet Muller to win this. I'm in trouble here.
I think you might be at the minute with him being what almost 5-1 up, 5-6-1 up. But it's hard to bet, isn't he, Murray? Because you just don't know what his recent level has been absolutely atrocious. But you feel like it's going to come back at some point, and this is a tournament he normally goes pretty well at. So he's dodgy. He's difficult. That's why I don't talk about Murray matches very often because they're really hard to kind of pick.
I wish I spoke to you before I pressed the bet button on my laptop there. Anyway, not looking good for me, and Murray looks like he's going to win the first set by a convincing scoreline. But we'll see. Anyway, that's enough about Andy Murray. Let's talk about this week. And if you watched Sunday's show, you'd have realised we had some outright picks on the tournament here in Doha and Qatar, which is talking about which Andy Murray is involved in. But at the time of recording, the draws were just announced, and there wasn't any future markets, tournament winner markets on the tournaments in Rio and Los Cabos. And a lot of people have messaged and said, well, is there anything you liked? And we said we'd mention it today on Tuesday. The draw is out now. We've seen a couple of days action. Is there anything that you saw on the draw that you thought, I quite like that player? Any leans or anything you thought that was maybe worth betting on the future market on those two events?
Well, we mentioned a couple of names, didn't we? Or I did, and on Sunday before we saw any of the odds, and they were Garin and Seyboth Wild, and Seyboth Wild was obviously one of our match bets. I still think he's got a good chance. We'll talk about him again in a minute. I think he's perhaps the best of the bigger prize contenders. Garin, you're kind of guessing whether he's fit or not. If he is fit, he could really give you a good run for money. This is all in the bottom half of the draw, which to me looks kind of open. I'm just glancing at it now. Cam Norrie You know, he played pretty well yesterday in his first round match. Norrie loves these sort of physical battles. Is he good enough to win it for 2 years in a row in Rio? I'm not so sure. So I'm not personally having a bet, but I think that potentially Seyboth could be the one with to offer a bit of value in that bottom half of the draw.
The outright odds are available as we record this. They probably won't be available when it goes live, which will be later on this afternoon. It's recording on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning on stateside. Carlos Alcaraz is the favourite, -155. Seyboth Wield is 30-1, and Christian Garin is 25-1. So maybe have a look at those, or maybe bet them in the match markets and sort of get some value as the tournament progresses. And over in Los Cabos, it's Alexander Zverev who's the favourite at 2-1. Stefanos Tsitsipas is 4-1. Casper Ruud 6-1. Minaur 6-1. Then it's 20-1 bar those. Did you anything you saw on that draw that you quite liked?
There's been a couple of unusual results. This court is really slow and bouncy, and yet Kokkinakis beat Jack Draper, and Evans beat Safulin, and Max Purcell beat Arnoldi. Some kind of peculiar results. Not really. There's nothing really that's standing out to me that says I should really back this guy. I don't like to have too many bets in February unless I can see some potential value and a real kind of path through to a specific guy for the final. There's nothing here that stands out for me that would be more than a kind of shot in the dark, really. There's nothing I can see that's outright betting value in either Los Cabos or Rio, really.
Head across to the BetRivers website. They will have the tournament future markets available before the tournament round starts, obviously, and you can check them out yourself. There'll be tournament outright markets and each way markets available on all three tournaments this week, which is a busy week on the ATP Tour. Okay, that's the futures, and that was yesterday on our matches where we cashed a few tickets. And you mentioned him, Seyboth Wild, and we're talking about him again. He's up against Jaume Munar in Rio, in the tournament in Rio. It's a 2:30 p.m. Eastern start. Munar has a very, very overwhelming, convincing lead. He leads 3-2 in the head-to-head. He beat him in Miami in the last meeting in straight sets. In Brazil, in a challenger, he come through against the Brazilian 2-1. And he also beat him in Montevideo in Uruguay in 2019. Seyboth Wild earned us the cash in a win against Tabilo. He come in with no form, but Sean gave a great reason why we should bet him against the run of form coming into the tournament. And he's an underdog here again against Munar. He's +118. Munar -143. The spread is 1.5. Munar giving up 1.5 is -117. Seyboth Wield +1.5 is -109. And the total here is 22.5 with over -107, under -120. 29 different markets available on this match on BetRivers, and all the matches in Rio in BetRivers. I'm guessing we're sticking with the Seyboth Wield train here. He's had one big win. He's sort of turned, his season has been pretty poor. A good win against an informed Tabilo. And now he's up against an opponent where the market may look at the head-to-head and give you a price that represents a bit of value.
Yeah, I can't back Munar at this price. I should say, first of all, I gave out a bit of duff information regarding Rio, so I'm apologising for that. It's about the balls. They used to play with head balls here, but it looks like they've changed to Wilson. They've certainly changed to Wilson this year. It looks like they changed to Wilson last year as well. So there isn't that change it's still like a change of conditions. It's still relevant, but they're not changing the balls as well. They're playing in Wilson in Buenos Aires, and they're now playing with Wilson here. So I got that wrong. I think it's probably because I was in Rotterdam this time last year, and I didn't get a chance to search through Getty Images and look through and see what balls they were using. But it makes sense now because the last couple of years there's been fewer underdog winners in Rio, and I did kind of wonder why, but I think that might have something to do with it, because changing the balls from the Wilson to the head, as well as the change of conditions, used to lead to quite a few upsets. And the last couple of years it hasn't. That could be a coincidence, or that could be a main reason for that. So they are playing with Wilson balls here. Cam Norrie also gave a good description of the conditions here as well, actually. He said, and I'll quote him from yesterday, he said, "I feel like the balls get quite big, so it can be quite slow. The court is quite heavy." And he's talking about how to win points at this tournament. He's saying you can't rush the point on this surface. He's saying I wanted to hit 2 or 3 balls before I really pulled the trigger and went for the right shot. You got to be patient. He also said if you hit a flat ball, like his backhand is particularly flat, the ball does kind of skid through the court pretty well. So it's quite a good description from Cam Norrie there about the conditions. We need to also be aware that there could be thunderstorms on Wednesday. It's going to be really humid again, 90% humidity. Thunderstorms very likely. So the conditions could be tough. It could be on. It could be off. as far as this one's concerned, I think it's been priced on the head-to-head, like you said, 3-0 to Munar. You feel like if you looked at these two players and you said to yourself, which one's going to be the higher ranked at the end of their career or do the bigger things, you would have to say if Seyboth Wild can get his head right, it would have to be him. He's got the better weapons. Munar does what he does very well, which is kind of keep the ball in play, make you play one more ball. And that's kind of how he's frustrated Seyboth Wild in the past. Although I have to say that the last meeting was in qualies on a hard court in Miami. That's not Seyboth Wild. You can't see him being up for that. He's really up for this, as you can imagine. And he did say the crowd really helped him through against Tabelo. So Munar, I feel, was pretty flattered by his win over a really poor against Sebastian Offner, who's had a nightmare golden swing. He's been terrible. Doesn't look fit at all, Offner. But other than that, he's not been in particularly great form on this golden swing. I think he's been flattered by that Offner win. If we look at the stats of this tournament, what Munar's done here, he's only won 44% of his second serve points in the 8 matches that he's played in Rio. And he's only held serve 68% of the time. Seyboth Wild has won 50% of his second serve points and, excuse me, held serve 78% of the time. So he's a player that loves playing here. You feel like he's desperate to do well. If he finds his best form on the day, the crowd could well get him over the line again. I certainly couldn't be backing Munar at minus money. I think Seyboth's about plus 117?
Plus 118 now, yeah, plus 118.
I think if you're betting on this match, I think you would have to take Seyboth Wild. I'm not sure I'm going to go in on him again. I prefer another bet today, but that's certainly a lean for that particular match, yeah.
And plus 118 Seyboth Wild, currently with Bet Rivers, the Brazilian in his country with his support behind him. He got him over the line against Tabilo. Will he get him over the line against an opponent that leads at 3-0 in their head-to-heads? I remember you can bet live, watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. Place a bet on that match and be able to live stream the game on your mobile device or your tablet or your home computer. So the first match is just a lean for Seyboth Wild. He earned us the money. He doesn't have to prove anything now. We'll go with him. But
just take him on the outright if you can.
Yeah, 30-1 currently bet with us for Seyboth Wild. But at plus 118, he is a lean for us to win the tournament in Rio. 2:30 p.m. Eastern time is when that match starts on Wednesday. At a bit of an earlier start, we're moving to 2 matches now across in Doha in Qatar. 6:30 a.m. is when the order of play starts over there for Wednesday morning, sorry. And it's Fucsovics against Bublik is the match that you want to talk about first. Another one where there's a very convincing head-to-head. Bublik leads 4-1 on the head-to-head here. They met in Wimbledon, where he won very easy, 6-1, 6-2, 6-4. Madrid on clay, 7-6, 6-3. Marseille, 6-4, 7-5. Fucsovics did win in 2017 the Challenger, but on the 3 main ATP Tour matches they played, Bublik has won, and he hasn't dropped the set. Now, hence, that's probably why he is quite a decent favourite here, but not as strong as you would imagine, given that head-to-head. Bublik is minus 120. Fucsovics is minus 104. The spread here is 1.5, minus 134. For Fucsovics, plus 1.5, minus 1.5 for Bublik is plus 104, and the total is 22.5. If you look at their progression to this round, Fucsovics beat Bautista Agut, who's got a very good record here in Doha, and Bublik was beaten by Raonic in Rotterdam, who did very, very well prior to that. He won the tournament in Montpellier. Bublik is playing well. We don't know the order to play. We don't know if it's an early start yet. We know what Bublik's like with an early start, so that may probably hinder or sort of enhance your opinion on this match here.
I don't think they do early starts in Doha.
Oh, we said that.
We said
that the other day, yeah. But for Bublik, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon as an early start. But it's 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. What do you think here? I mean, given the head-to-head and given the form coming in, Bublik, perhaps for a lot of people, would appear some value. But judging by the line movement today, all the money is coming from Fucsovics.
Yeah, I can see why. I think the head-to-head is working in our favour here. 4-1, yeah, it's the head-to-head, but yeah, you've got to be careful with head-to-heads. You can't just look at it and go, oh, he's won 4 out of the 5, so he's going to win this one. The last one they played at Wimbledon, Fucsovics wasn't even remotely fit. He was injured during that grass swing. I think he just literally turned up for his paycheck, to be perfectly honest. He was nowhere near fit enough to play that match. So we can strike that one off. The head-to-head, forget that one. It wasn't a contest. If you look at the 4 meetings, that were competitive, where presumably they were both fit, there's not a great deal in it. Service points won, return points won totals 102 to 98 in favour of Bublik. So not an overwhelming advantage by any means. And across those 4 meetings, Fucsovics actually won 6% more second serve points. And it's generally the first serve for Bublik that does the damage, but it's horses for courses. That weapon isn't going to be something that's going to help you that well in Doha. It's windy. It's supposed to be 21-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow. It's a slow court. I can't imagine Bublik is going to be up for this. His best conditions are indoor hard and grass by a country mile. I talked about how poor his outdoor hard court stats were the other day. They're nowhere near the levels of his grass and indoor statistics. If you look at what they've each done in Doha, Fucsovic's got a great record here. 8-4 win-loss. Service points won and return points won total of 102. And a service hold and break total of 108. It's very impressive. Bublik is down at 99 and 102, so he's way down on what he's done in his Doha career compared to Fucsovic. Looking slightly more into that, Bublik's only won 43% of his second serve points at this particular tournament. Fucsovic has won 51%. Conditions clearly, for me, will favour Fucsovic, who was, again, very, very impressive. I watched his match against Bautista Agut. Admittedly, this is a shadow of Bautista Agut as we used to know him. He's nowhere near. He had a knee brace on as well. But Fucsovic still played superbly well. He clearly enjoys playing here. The wind, I feel, is going to frustrate Bublik. You can see quite a few double faults coming off his racket on Wednesday. So I'm perfectly happy to take Fucsovic here as my play for the day. I think he's a very good bet in the horses for courses kind of style.
Minus 104. And now currently, minus 104 is one of the best prices in the land. So if Sean's going to be betting the minus 104, and we're given a recommendation here, you want to head across the bet rivers very, very quickly because that minus 104 will go very, very quickly indeed. So Fucsovic minus 104 is our only official pick of the day. We've got some leans. We're going to come on to 2 other matches, but that Fucsovic at minus 104 is the bet against Bublik. The head-to-head very misleading, very different conditions today. And as Sean said, windy, slow court. Fucsovic here, minus 104 is the bet. The next match we're going to speak about is in Qatar again. It's Hugo Humbert, the left-handed Frenchman, very big server. He's a very heavy favourite against Pavel Kotov. Humbert is minus 215. Kotov is plus 170. Again, this match starts at 6:30 a.m. The spread here is 3.5. Humbert giving up 3.5 plus 114. Kotov receiving 3.5 minus 148. The total 22.5 with minus 110 for over, minus 115 for under. They have met once before. If you want to look at the head-to-head, it was a win for Humbert in St. Petersburg back in 2020. And Kotov, though, he looked good. I watched the match yesterday against Sonego. I know Sonego wasn't at his best, but Kotov looked pretty good indeed. And Humbert, since he won in Marseille, was beaten in the first round in Rotterdam against Ruzavori. So I was impressed with Kotov yesterday. Did you watch the game, Sean? I thought he played well.
I didn't see that one, no.
No, I thought he played really, really well. Sonego wasn't at the races, but Kotov did all he had to do to win. And at plus 170.
0-4 now. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I think it was Sonego.
0-4 in Doha now, I think, Sonego. Clearly doesn't like playing here. So you do have to, when you're looking at Doha, you kind of have to look at how players have gone in the past or how you feel like they're going to play in certain conditions. So I'm just not sure whether Humbert will enjoy the conditions here. He's never played in Doha. He's never played in Dubai. So this could be a bit of a kind of learning curve for him. As you said, Kotov, you watched it obviously more than I did. He obviously played very, very well against Sonego. Having a match here in these kind of peculiar, slightly unique conditions, I feel that's a big advantage anyway. Even if a player has played before, but Humbert's never been here before, never played a match. So is he going to enjoy this wind? The players that are ultra aggressive, like Humbert, very aggressive game, goes for his shots, goes for the lines. Is he going to be able to do that in 21-mile-an-hour winds, gusting around? Not so sure. Maybe, but I certainly wouldn't be backing him at heavy minus money in these circumstances. If we look at what Kotov has done since he's kind of broken through, so since the Shanghai Masters last season, what he's done at main level is pretty impressive. Service points won and return points won total of 103, and a service hold and break total of 109, and he's held serve 87% of the time. That's pretty good numbers, very good numbers, in fact, for a guy ranked number 64 in the world. He's obviously improving on that rapidly. Humbert's numbers are better. Yeah, they are 108 and 110, so an 89% hold. So yeah, Humbert's in good form at the minute, or has been in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. And he's obviously the right favourite. But as you said, Kotov took a set off Humbert back in 2020 when he was number 286 in the world. Kotov. Humbert was 38 in the world that day. I feel like this is going to be closer than the odds suggest. So my lean here is over 22 and a half games, given that both these guys hold serve a lot. And Humbert, I really feel like there's going to be some peaks and troughs in his game. If he comes out here and plays a really clean game and cleans him out 6-3, 6-4 in these conditions, I will be very impressed. So over 22 and a half games, -106 chance for Bet Rivers, or maybe take Humbert to win it eventually, 2-1, plus 260, 3.6 that is with Bet Rivers as well.
So a long match expected between Ugo Humbert and Kotov. I thought Kotov, I did watch it yesterday. First set he played really well. I think he won about 6-2. The second set, Sonego played a little bit better, but there was a lot of unforced errors from the Italian, who's really struggling for any kind of form. But I thought Kotov at plus 170, maybe a little bit of value on the money line here, because I think Humbert, since he won his home tournament, and his record since a first round defeat in Rotterdam, I think he might travel here and think, well, I've done my bit for the year, I won that tournament, and just saved myself a bit. But
maybe the first set, maybe if Kotov's attuned to the conditions, Humbert isn't. Maybe take the price on Kotov to win the first set. Any of those bets. Just feel like Humbert is just a touch vulnerable here.
He's the number 3 seed, and that is one of the reasons why he's -215 to win this match with Bet Rivers. So they're the two matches in Doha. We've spoken about Rio. Now, the final tournament this week is over in Mexico. It's Los Cabos. And the conditions here are very warm, aren't they, Sean? It's sweltering over there, isn't it?
I wouldn't say swelter. It's hot, but hot-ish. You know, it's about 26, 28. It's not.
That's hot for me. That's sweltering for me.
Is that hot
28.
for you?
28. It's about 90 degrees, isn't it?
It's nice. I wouldn't say swelter. Sweltering's like 35, 36. You know, that's
20,
38.
24, 26 is perfect. 28, 29 that's hot for me. Did I read it? I might have got it wrong.
You're not playing ice, so I don't.
I'll be sitting there. With this head, you need factor 50 on all the time.
You got caps, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but my missus said I look useless in caps. She doesn't like me in caps. She says I look like a bit of someone who goes on a sort of certain bus to go to. It doesn't like me with the cap on. She likes me with a flat cap. But
you don't tell her. I bet you don't walk into her and say, "Look, I don't like you in that dress." That's not happening.
I do.
Do.
and then anyway, this match here, though, I mean, the conditions are hot. Obviously, I sure read a quote from someone saying it was really, really hot and sticky and humid.
It used to be played in July, so that was probably a lot hotter. Now that it's played,
I didn't read it 2 years ago. I read it this week. I read someone said it's anyway. It's warm. It's going to be quite warm.
Depends what you consider to be warm, I guess. And the matches are played kind of later in the day. I don't think it's going to heat's a massive problem here, but I'm not running around, playing 3.5 hours of tennis. I'm not, so it kind of depends. But where are we going with this?
Well, I was asking the conditions.
Okay,
I thought I was coming. I thought I was coming with a bit of intelligence because I've done my research, so it's going to be really hot. You've put me right back.
It depends what you mean by really hot.
And now I'm going to let you throw it over to you.
I wouldn't have said that was really hot. I know it's perhaps humid and what have you, and Acapulco can be, very, very hot and humid, but I wouldn't say this was insanely hot. But it is slow. It's a slow court. It's high bouncing. It's a bit spongy if you watch it. It's a kind of a peculiar watch. It's like they've got this sort of brown around the outside. It looks like a sort of clay court that they've kind of painted over. It's not my sort of conditions. I think it's difficult, slow, high bouncing. So those are the conditions.
Well, conditions difficult, slow, high bouncing. Does that mean we may have a shock? Maybe, we could be underdogs on the card. There's a lot of heavy favourites tomorrow in action, but one of the heavy favourites you're going to speak about here is Alex de Minaur against Alex Michelsen. Now, on the graphic here, we have -305 for de Minaur, but he's now -335. The money has come for the Australian. He's in some good form, but Alex Michelsen, I quite like what I see from this kid. I think he's going to be a big player. +250 here. The spread is -3.5, -136 for de Minaur. +106 for Michelsen. The total 21.5 over -130 under +102. That looks a little bit cheap for me on the the total games there. The over earlier was plus 104. It's now minus 130. So there's been a bit of a move on that, but that was the over was 22.5, now 22.5. What do you like here? If you look at this match here, the form Minar's played a lot of tennis, hasn't he, in recent weeks? I know he's inside the top 10, but is he a player that really should be a top 10 player? Is it because he's played so many big matches and done quite well on some lesser events? But he's a number 3 seed this week, and I just got a feeling here he's a little bit too short on minus 305 against a very talented Michelsen.
Yeah, I think in this circumstance, he probably is. He's playing some very, very good tennis at the minute. He deserves his place in the top 10. He's made improvements to his game, and he's a very tough guy to beat. Sinner didn't have an easy time against him in the Rotterdam final by any means. No, it was straight sets, but it was anything but easy. But this one is about what de Minaur wants to do over the next few weeks. He's had that extremely tough week in Rotterdam. A lot of tough matches. He doesn't tend to sprint through his matches very quickly. He did in 1 or 2. He beat Goffin pretty easily, but he tends to have to expend a lot of energy to win his matches. Now he's got to decide what he wants to do with this week. He's got 500 points to defend next week in Acapulco because he won that tournament last year, and then he's going straight to Indian Wells. Now last year he went through the ringer to win Acapulco. He was absolutely shattered in all these matches that he played. They're all 3 sets pretty much, and he arrived at Indian Wells and he had absolutely nothing left. Now you're Alex de Minaur. Having gone through that last year, do you want to do the same thing again? Do you want to go all out to win a 250? In warmish conditions, and the way that he plays, things don't come easily to him. It's going to be an effort for sure. And then next week, going to have to defend 500 points in Acapulco, and then go to Indian Wells. I think something's got to give. Personally, I can't see it being next week because it's a bigger points than this. The way that he plays, he's got to put everything into it. It's not like he can rely on a massive serve and huge forehand blast players off the court. He's got to be on it physically, and if he's not, he struggles. And I feel like Michelsen, the way that he's playing at the minute, can certainly challenge him. Anyone that saw him play against Tommy Paul a few days ago in Delray Beach, he was very close to Tommy Paul. I think it was a final set tiebreak in the end that Tommy Paul won it in. A repeat of that level of tennis from Michelsen against what is going to be a tired de Minaur. It's not a short trip from Rotterdam either, is it, to Los Cabos? Fatigue's got to play a part here, you feel. Michelsen, in his last 10 matches at main level, his stats are very good. A service points won and return points won total of 100, and a service hold and break total of 104. So he's coming in with some good numbers lately, Michelsen. So for me here, you either back Michelsen in the assumption that de Minaur might be less than 100% committed or less than 100% fit, or take the over games. Feel like it's going to be a closer than the odds suggest, and I certainly won't be backing de Minaur at that price in these circumstances.
And both of those markets have been nibbled at in the market before. We spoke about here. Michelsen has got actually bigger price, but the total games has been a little bit of move for the overs. I mean, you can go quite low on 21.5, or you can go a little bit higher in price at 22.5 if you were inclined.
Well, the handicap on Michelsen as well, possible.
Yeah, 3.5 is minus 103 for Michelsen. So we're leaning towards Michelsen there in all kinds of different markets. Remember, bet rivers have 29 different markets on this match. Michelsen's going to be our sort of lean in any one of those 29 markets. First set, Michelsen. Over total games, over first set. Lots of points to defend for Alex de Minaur. And obviously, this tournament will not probably be the priority over the next few weeks for the Australian, who's now up to the top 10 of the world. So just the one official pick from Sean. It's Fucsovics at minus 104 in Doha tomorrow on Wednesday, which starts at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. That match doesn't specifically start at 6:30 a.m. The order play starts at 6:30 a.m. and check out the Bet Rivers website overnight when the order play comes out to see what time. But I would suggest to head across early because I'm convinced that price will slash in the market. Sean, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, no problem. I hope to be 75% fit tomorrow.
Well, as this has been going on, I've been getting more and more of a worse headache, and I've got more and more of a runny nose. So whatever you've done through the
I haven't sent anything down the internet
through the fiber optic cables, you've sent your lurgy across to me in some capacity.
It's nothing to do with me.
Well, anyway, there's 3 ways to follow us here and on Betting Weekly Studios. You can obviously subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. Please give us a subscribe on there. Give us a like, give us a review. Get any comments you want, please do that, sir, on there. With great numbers in recent weeks on the YouTube channel. So I want to hear from you. If you've got a best bet, if you agree with Sean, or you disagree with Sean, or you agree with me, or whatever, just give us a comment. Any questions you have for us, we're happy to take them on there, and we will answer those questions on this show. You can also give us a follow on our social media on Instagram and Twitter, and we share the same handle, @BecauseWeWin. There'll be loads of updates from there on the tennis world as well as the soccer world, and all kinds of different stuff and competitions on Instagram as well, some exclusive content as well. Next week I'll be over in Dubai. You'll be able to see some action I'll have over there in 2 weeks later. From there, Sean will be in Indian Wells. We're starting to do our trips again, so you'll see all that on the Instagram page. And also you can download the podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. That's all for today on Tuesday. We're back tomorrow, hopefully cashing more tickets. It was a great start to the week. Sean has got us back in the profit, looking good for these 3 tournaments, and looking good with lots of big tennis events coming up over the next few weeks. Enjoy your day. Good luck with your wagers. And Sean, 80% tomorrow, and we'll smash it even more.
Let's go for it.
Take care.